A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. What exactly does that mean? It's not even a complete sentence. Did they mean only a well-regulated militia has the right to bear arms? A few years ago, the Supreme Court said no. It means any adult who's not a felon or mentally ill can have a gun. This enrages some people on the left, especially after there's a horrible shooting.
I mean, 27 children were mowed down. Isn't that enough for us? One of our own colleagues, Gabby Gifford,
then why doesn't your party come out against the Second Amendment?
I'm not sure which they would.
Attorney Steve Halbrook specializes in the Second Amendment. So what do you say to people like that Congressman Ellison and Bill Maher who say this is just nuts, everybody having guns?
Well, we have certain freedoms enshrined in the Bill of Rights, and they can be dangerous in some cases, but on the other hand, they're necessary for a free society. The right to assemble, the right to free speech, these can lead to bad consequences as well. But just like the right to keep and bear arms,
they would say
preserve a free society.
Worse, that this was written for a time when people had muskets, and now we've got machine guns.
Rifles, pistols, and shotguns, those are what are protected by the Second Amendment. The Supreme Court said machine guns are not.
Weapons that are kind of like machine guns are protected?
Well, there's a big difference between a single pull of the trigger for each shot versus keeping the trigger down.
If it's not a militia, then why did they talk about a militia?
They didn't want a standing army. And by recognizing the right to keep and bear arms, the people at large, the law-abiding people, would have arms, and when the time came, they could be organized into militia.
You have a new book out called Gun Control in the Third Reich, Disarming the Jews and Enemies of the State. And the point is?
Well-intentioned politicians in the Weimar Republic decreed registration of firearms. They thought this would do something to solve violence and crime.
As politicians today say.
Right, and they warned, don't let these registration records fall into the wrong hands. That was in 1932, and in 1933, the Hitler dictatorship began to consolidate its power, and they used the gun registration records to look up social democrats, to take their guns away, and to disarm them, and in fact, against all of its opponents. And by 1938, Kristallnacht, people don't realize the focus of that was to disarm the Jewish population of Germany.
Hitler said the most foolish mistake we could possibly make would be to allow the subject races to possess arms.
And he knew how to enforce it in the countries that Nazi Germany occupied. It was the death penalty for not turning in your guns within 24 hours.
So I get it for then, but what would the founders have thought about the Second Amendment had they been alive today and seen gun stores running commercials like this?
Who says family fun time can't be family gun time?
Push it back just a little bit.
Shooting is fun, so give it a shot, America. Cheaper Than Dirt has everything you need for good times and great memories.
The founders, they enjoyed firearms. They had shooting matches. If you look at the diaries of Ethan and Ira Allen, the Vermont Green Mountain Boys, they had shooting matches all the time. They enjoyed it. They used guns for hunting, not just for pleasure, but for food.
This year, after a deadly shooting near the University of Santa Barbara, California passed a law to make it easier for someone to have authorities take guns from a family member you consider dangerous.
At least now there's a procedure for keeping guns out of the hands of people who their relatives know are unstable and dangerous.
There are people who are saying, oh, this is horrible. It's going to take away the rights of law-abiding citizens. Well, what about the rights of victims?
You can't just have relatives who might want to get rid of them make a statement and then they go get picked up and their guns are taken away. There's got to be due process of law.
Thank you, Steve Halbrook.